And welcome to Bronze and Modern Gods. I'm John, and as always, there's my buddy Richard. What's going on, Richard?
Nothing much. Quiet evening. How are you doing?
Quiet. We're gonna make some noise.
Yeah.
Let's start off with our nerd shirts. What do you have this week?
Well, today I've got a Tyler Kirkham shirt I bought from an online website. It's pretty cool. It's got Tyler's. Oops, on the wrong shoulder. It's got Tyler's mark on here. It's a nice shirt. It's got it from Street Level Heroes, one of the online vendors. Yeah.
Well, I am repping my man Herc with my Ed McGuinness Hercules shirt.
Nice.
Homemade on a t-shirt press that was actually being used to make t-shirts, not for pressing comics.
What? They make those?
It's crazy, right? Hey, if you are just now joining us, it's your first time, why don't you follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Bronze and Modern Gods? We would love you for it. If you're listening to us on your favorite podcast platform, make sure you subscribe and you leave us a rate and review. That would be cool as well. And we are not wasting any time this week. Our main topic this week is opening a comic book store, dream or nightmare. You're going to hear stories from both sides of the fence. We've got our underrated books of the week. But before we get started, I think you have a book, which is kind of one of your personal grails that you've been searching for a long time, and you got it this week.
Yes, I did. It is Young Allies number 6. This is the 1 in 15 variant by Art Adams. This is the cover artist. Beautiful book. I have been looking forever for this book. Finally tracked it down on the UK eBay and talked to the person who was selling it, a gentleman named Azar. Really nice guy. I got the book from him. He shipped it very carefully packaged, sent me a lovely note to go along saying he hopes it brings me happiness. I really appreciate it. Definitely, this is one of my grails. I've been looking for this forever. And of course, there is the rule of whenever you find something you've been looking forever, you'll find additional copies like the next day. And I did. I found another 2 copies, but I bought another one. But yeah, Azar, thank you so much. I appreciate it. This definitely is in my PC for life.
Why was it so hard to find for so long? Why do you think? Under ordered, so there are not many 1 in 15s out there?
Seriously. It ended up being the last issue of Young Allies, and only 14,000 were ordered of the last regular copy. Of those, there was doubtful many people ordered more than 15 copies of the book, and therefore the number of 1 in 15s is probably very, very low. And because of that, it's just rarely pops up on eBay. I mean, I've seen 3 copies this past year and lost out on all the other ones. So when this one came up and I saw it, I immediately bought it.
It's a beautiful cover. I mean, Art Adams, you know how I feel about Art. He's one of my favorites. Is it going off to Sarasota for a little slabby?
Oh, hell yeah. Both of the ones that I'm getting are going off. Got a whole shipment of stuff I need to go. I need to press them. They're modern books. I need to press them, so I need to get the cojones to do that. This one is in great shape. It's 9.6, most likely, maybe 9.8. You never know, obviously. But yeah, I have high hopes for it. And when it comes back, like I said, it's going in the PC. This is a book that I've been looking for forever, and I am not doing this again. So it's going to stay in the PC.
So we're going to see it on the wall behind you fairly soon, hopefully. That's great.
Yeah, cross your fingers.
Well, speaking of slabs and books and 9.6s and 9.8s that are on fire, that's a great segue for our hot book of the week. And why don't you tell the folks what it is?
The hot book this week is SheHulk number 1. If you had told me 2 years ago that SheHulk number 1 would be a $700 9.8 book, I would have laughed in your face.
It was a quarter box book for decades.
Oh, I know. It's crazy. She-Hulk, its first appearance of She-Hulk, the cousin of Bruce Banner. It was written by Stan Lee, and John Buscema did the art on it. It's a popular book in that it's always been in circulation. And when I started collecting again, it was a goodly price. A 9.8 was probably around $200. And I actually bought one at that price, and I had it in the PC for a long time. But then we had the announcement of, Disney Plus came out, and there's an announcement of a new show starring She-Hulk. And that really just made her first appearance double in value overnight. So a book that was $200 now was going for $400. This is just a few months ago. And now this month, we have news that Tatiana Maslany,
She's not
Maslamé.
Black.
Yeah, she's from Orphan Black. She is cast in the role of She-Hulk, and they're going to start shooting in February of 2021. That just seems to be the fire to the powder keg. There are sales on eBay for over $700. We're having lags in GPA. Another conversation I want to have. I talked to you about this earlier.
Yeah.
GPA, the relevancy of GPA's value is decreasing as more people buy through alternative sources that GPA does not track, like Instagram or Facebook.
Or YouTube live sales.
Or YouTube live sales. So the GPA average is 535, the 90-day average for this book. But there are confirmed sales, and the going price on eBay is around $700. So crazy. It is crazy. I don't know where this is going to cap. I don't know if I would recommend buying one right now, because in my mind, $700 is a astronomical price for this book. And at some point, it's going to cool off, and you can buy one on that at the end of the cycle. You know, the show will come out. It will be popular or not popular, but after the show comes out and that pressure has been relieved about its airing, you'll probably see the price drop. And if you're interested in it, I'd buy it then, not now, before the hype, while the hype is still building.
The closest parallel I can think of is Carol Danvers, Ms. Marvel #1. When the Captain Marvel movie was announced, we saw this book shoot up to heights it had never seen. Again, another quarter box fodder book for years. And then the movie came out and it did well. And people were not that excited, though. It was that Miss Marvel saw a big dip. I think fans really like She-Hulk as a character. So I think this book might have a little more staying power than Ms. Marvel #1 did.
I hope so. You know, there's two different ways they could play this. They could play it like they did in Savage, which is a little more serious.
Please,
or
no.
they could, yeah. Or they could do John Byrne's Sensational She-Hulk, which is my favorite. I love Sensational She-Hulk. And John Byrne's, the way that he had... the way that She-Hulk was breaking the fourth wall and addressing the audience. I thought that was awesome.
There's a middle ground there. Dan Slott and Peter David's run in the 2000s. It was a lighthearted She-Hulk with some serious things happening. She didn't break the fourth wall, but it wasn't as deadly serious as the Savage She-Hulk. I remember when this book came out, okay? I bought it at my local grocery store. It was a big deal because Stan Lee was coming back to write this. So everyone was like, whoa, Stan's back. And I read it and I'm like, oh, she gets a transfusion from Bruce? That's it? You know, even as a 10-year-old, I was like, great. Good job, Stan. You still got it. So it's interesting to see this book just take this roller coaster ride, and we'll just keep an eye on it, I guess.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what happens after the actual show airs. It depends. I mean, the value of Star Wars books based on the Mandalorian characters have skyrocketed because that series is so good. I could see if the She-Hulk series was as popular because it was done well, these books continue to go up.
Hey, if it's going to be anything like the WandaVision trailer, people are going to get hyped because that WandaVision trailer is crazy. I'm looking forward to that. And hopefully all these Disney Plus shows will be the same quality.
Yeah, I finally justify my subscription to Disney Plus.
So She-Hulk #1 in the mid-90s was selling maybe $2, $3 if somebody was actually looking for it. The ongoing series was still happening. Still not a lot of interest in that earlier series from fans. And I know this because I owned a comic book store at that time. And that's our main topic for today. Owning a comic book store. What's involved? What do you have to go through? Is it all it's cracked up to be, or is it a total nightmare? I'm here to tell you it's all of those things and more. So a little background. I was managing comic shops since I graduated high school. Lots of it was my full-time job when I got out of high school. Then I went into the Army, and I was doing it part-time while I was in the Army for a local comic shop in Monterey, California. Big ups to Adventure Comics and Cards. And then when I got out, I was going to school full-time, and I was working in morning radio full-time. And if that wasn't enough on my plate, I decided I was going to start doing comic book shows. So on the weekends, I was doing conventions, and I was seeing sales, like crazy sales on the weekends. I was pocketing a lot of money from doing those sales. So I got it in my head that I'm going to open up a comic book store in my little hometown of Elyria, Ohio, in downtown. Got a couple of my friends to help me get started. One of my friends had a property that he was willing to give me a deal on the lease for, and I opened up a shop. What a nightmare. I had no business running a business. I was a good manager. I was a good person with the customers. I knew my product. I knew comics. I knew how to relate to fans and sell them things. I didn't know that when you had sales tax, you were supposed to save the sales tax and then pay it every quarter. What? I didn't know about getting the proper licenses from downtown for the business license. I mean, I learned stuff the hard way. There was the thrill of selling a Fantastic Four number 48 for $300 at the time. I was like, yeah, I got $300 for this. Then there's the heartbreak of ordering too many of the latest Image comic and having it sit on the shelves forever and having to worry about making my next Capital City distribution payment. It is tough. So we are going to talk a little bit about my experience with someone that worked with me there. So now we get to the part where the store's opening. We're really excited. And I got to hire my first employee. And it was someone that has a lot of memories, much better recall than I do, because he remembers a lot of stuff that I just have completely forgotten. So let's welcome him to the show. This is Tim Costas. Hi, Tim.
Hi, gang. What's up,
Hi,
gang?
Tim.
Good to see you, John.
Hi. First of all, how did we meet?
You were friends with my brother when I was in elementary school, and you went to the circus with my family. That's how we first met.
That's crazy. I have zero recall of that.
You showed me a Captain America comic book when I was a little kid.
Oh, wow. And that's what started your love of the comics?
Well, yeah, kind of.
So how does your wife feel about me then?
Oh, she doesn't care. She keeps me out of her hair. Just get all the omnibuses and stuff.
So flash forward years later, I get out of the Army. I'm back in our hometown, and I'm opening up a comic book store. But you and I are actually going to the local community college together, taking television courses, right?
Right. We're doing ENGs together.
ENGs. Tell people what that is.
Electronic news gathering.
So you're gathering news electronically. Ooh.
Wow.
We did also, we interned at Channel 43 together. Remember that?
I remember interning at Channel 43. This is, way off the beaten path of the story. I remember going the first 3 weeks and saying, this is really boring. Then I quit.
Yeah, just stop showing up.
I was like, I'm out of here. I thought I was so ahead of myself. I thought I was going to be on TV and I was going to be doing the prize movie, but no, I'm fetching coffee. Hell no.
Olive Garden.
So Richard was one of our first customers, if I remember correctly. Richard, what do you remember about my shop, first of all?
Yeah, I remember, first of all, it was huge. At least for comic book stores, it was huge because of the
way
space.
Too large. We had to curtain off the back because it was way too big of a space.
I remember you were editing. I remember distinctly you editing a comic book. You were sitting there and you were, blue lining a comic, and I think it was Our Comics.
There was a local company, a comic book publisher that launched a comic book, and we knew all the people that were writing and drawing it, and they eventually asked me to edit it. I think they regretted that because they did not like the amount of blue pencil that they ended up seeing. And we had a signing in our shop that was huge.
That first weekend.
Yeah, the first weekend.
Yeah, and I also remember you selling this newfangled card game called Magic the Gathering. And you had booster packs and decks of the Unlimited set, because this is right after beta ended. And you were like, Magic cards, what the hell am I going to do with these things? And so you had a stack of them. And I still, to this day, wish I bought one of those.
I wish I kept a couple. I was selling boxes. Yeah, it's funny, it just as a testimony to my life. That's a perfect story that encapsulates me. I have a huge vision, and then I have trouble following through on it. So, sorry, man. Now, Tim, our opening weekend was a gala event.
It was the biggest thing to hit Elyria.
So tell everyone what we had for our opening weekend.
Well, we wore suits.
I made
looked sharp. And the mayor came and cut the red ribbon. The Ninja Turtle was there. And
we had media. I made sure the media was there.
The cake was there, too.
We had a cake. The media was there, except for Channel 43 for some reason.
Yeah.
I don't know why they didn't show up, but okay. Now, here's the bad stuff. You see, now, Tim, you say you remember all the good stuff.
Right.
I remember nothing but the bad stuff. Here's what I remember. Theft. We had such a problem with theft in that store. Kids shoplifting. I had a cordless phone, which was like, new tech at that time. And someone shoplifted the receiver when I left it out.
Jeez.
Wow.
Yeah, we had a competitor down the street that that was just not a friendly competitor at the time. They did everything they could to really just kind of cripple our business.
He sent them all to open files, and then they never collected the files. I remember.
Really?
He sent them over to shoplift from us. It was rough, and I took the high road. Looking back, I kind of wish I didn't. But what are you going to do? Now the way it all came about was I just was working shows with Tim. I was doing Holiday Inn shows, VFW shows, and Tim and I are like, filling up my little toolbox filled with cash, and I was like, something might
good books. You had a lot of good books. Burn X-Men and stuff.
Yeah, so let me get this straight. You were doing shows, so you would bring long boxes full of comic books, and you would sell them at like the VFW hall and places like that. And then there was a brisk enough business at that point for you to actually make a profit doing that.
We grew it pretty quickly because it went from little local shows in our hometown at the Holiday Inn and the VFW to us going to like the big time for us Cleveland shows. We started doing the Cleveland shows. And one thing I distinctly remember was when I was helping manage a comic shop in the Army on my free time in Monterey, California, the owner of the shop was a huge early believer in Valiant. So not a lot of stores and retailers were big on Valiant when they first launched, but he ordered tons of those first 5 or 6 issues, Harbinger, Magnus, Solar, like the real low print run ones. And he had like literal long boxes of these. So when I got out of the Army, I bought a bunch of his inventory of the Valiants before they got hot, and I brought them back to Cleveland. And I set up at a show in Cleveland with those Valiants, and I had dealers running over to my table before the show opened, offering triple price sticker of what I was asking for those for each. And I remember this as well. Now it's all coming back. I traded a bunch of early Valiants for an Avengers 4 to a dealer because you remember that, right?
I remember that book. Yeah.
Wow.
I can't. His theory, and he's probably right. I can't move this Avengers 4 quick, but I can move all these Valiants.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Wow. So Valiant was that hot at the time?
It was insanely hot, and this was right when Unity hit the big crossover from Valiant.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one thing I do remember. Tim, I think you probably remember this. New Comic Book Day, the night before, going to
it was so much fun. Go out to Berea and go to the big warehouse and all the tables full of new. It was good for me because I got to see what books were coming out the next day. So I was like, "Ooh!"
Wait, so you picked the books up directly from the distributor? It wasn't Diamond that was shipping you the.
Back then, Capital City Distribution was the big Midwest distributor. Diamond didn't have a local warehouse, and it was actually in Middleburg Heights. Yeah, we would go to Middleburg Heights. They would either ship it to the store, but Tim and I were such nerds, we could not wait. We wanted to get the book.
I remember that. I look forward to going. I really did.
Me too. That was like the highlight of the week, wasn't it? Tuesday night. Going to Capital City and getting the comics and bringing them back to the store. And like, did you see what happened in Quasar?
All right, let me ask you this. When you were getting the comics, were you cherry picking the best ones or just grabbing 20 off the top and just taking those?
Great question. Also a great way to tell people about opening a store. You're ordering your comic books 3 months ahead of time, and it's based on nothing but cover art and maybe a 1 to 2 sentence solicitation copy. It could be something like, Venom 25, virus appears, and Eddie's life will never be the same. And you're like, okay, I'm selling about 30 copies of Venom. Maybe this will be good. I'll make it 35 copies. You're spitting in the wind. We had no computer. We had no computer inventory then. It was me and my memory and probably Tim writing it down in a notebook what actually sold, right?
Right. People would say, oh, I like Alpha Flight. You don't really have too many of those. Oh, we need more Alpha Flight.
We would look at the pool, the customer pool list and say, okay, 4 people have Alpha Flight on the pool list, so we need to order at least 4. How many do we want for the shelves? Here is the big mistake I made. I ordered way too many shelf copies. To this day, when I see the cover of Tribe #1, I get sick to my stomach.
I take it you ordered a lot of Tribe #1.
Tim, do you remember how many Tribe #1s were on that shelf?
Yeah, I do.
Image was hot. It was
every #1. So it's it's going to be. You figure it's going to be a win-win. But
it was like printing money for some time. But here's the thing: I got into it with Tim right at the beginning of the end. Yeah. We had just missed that big tidal wave of huge sales, and now the market was crashing so hard. And Tim, I don't even remember how it ended. When did you quit working? Did you quit?
I know business was declining, so I felt bad. So I would just, instead of taking a paycheck, I would trade you for books, which I got 2112 signed by John Byrne from you.
Oh, wow.
That was one of the books I got. Still have it.
What was I thinking?
I just had to make money. I had to I worked as a dishwasher in a nursing home. I had to do something to make money.
Hey, money is money. And if I'm not able to pay you, you got to take care of yourself. Good. I'm glad I didn't have to lay you off then.
Tim, why don't you show him your shirt for anybody who knows anything about Ohio? Big Chuck and Little John.
My friends, Big Chuck and Little John.
Anyone from Northeast Ohio knows who Big Chuck and Little John are. They were kind of our local midnight movie hosts for decades. Formative comedy for me. Really shaped my worldview. That's why I'm so messed up.
Me too. Me too.
The good news, Tim, is you're still collecting, right?
Oh, yeah. Yes. I've been collecting since 1983.
So what do you like? What are your favorites?
Well, I like the 60s, 70s, and love 80s Marvel heroes. But I usually just get the omnibuses, masterworks, and epic collections. I have all the omnibuses. My favorite one is The Invisibles by Grant Morrison.
Oh, that was a great book. We'll have to hit that one sometime on the podcast. All right, I have to ask, and you have to tell the truth, Tim. How was I as a boss?
Great. Good friend. Best buddy.
Good. The 20s in the mail.
We'd always laugh working and do whatever we were doing. We'd always laugh so hard our sides would hurt.
Maybe that's why we went under. All right. Tim, that is awesome. Thank you so much for joining us today. We've been looking forward to this for a long time.
Thank you.
We finally got to do it.
It's great having you on.
Thanks, guys.
Tim gave us a lot of good insight there. He was really prodding my memory for things that I can't remember. But I think one part of the story that we need to wrap up with is, how did I get out? Because I'm in the shop. It's barely getting by. Things are kind of on the down slope. I found a buyer. One of my customers, his brother and sister-in-law were looking for a business to invest in, a small business, and he came to me actually and said, hey, would you be interested in selling the shop to my brother and sister-in-law? And I was like, hey, here you go. So I was able to sell the shop, make a little bit of money. It was more about getting out. I was able to take that money and pay the sales tax that I hadn't paid to the state of Ohio that was still due. So it kind of had a happy ending. I lost my entire collection because I was selling my personal collection, my personal inventory. It was at the time 48 long boxes worth of prime, silver, and bronze, and at the time, modern copper books. I remember I had a stack of New Mutants 98s. I remember, just like we talked about with Tim, Magic the Gathering cards, first edition, just boxes and boxes in the back stock room. I want all that stuff back. I wonder where it went.
Wow, that's a fortune. But you gotta look forward. Look forward. don't dwell on the past.
Now, wait a second, Richard. How can I look forward when it's time to go back to the past of 1995 thanks to the 25-year rule?
I am a segue master, aren't I? Yeah.
I know.
I just pitch him and you just hit him out of the park.
There it goes, Homer. So, 1995, here's what's up. I sell my shop. I get the heck out of Dodge. DC and Marvel see the writing on the wall. Sales are horrible for both companies. Marvel decides they're going to distribute their own books, so they buy Heroes World. Good move there. And they get to collaborate on the crossover of a comic fan's dream, DC versus Marvel. So DC versus Marvel #1 came out in 1995. It ended up being Diamond Distribution's best-selling comic of the year. And it was, like I said, a dream for fans because Superman versus Thor, Silver Surfer versus Green Lantern, Lobo versus Wolverine, Storm versus Wonder Woman, Aquaman versus Submariner. Who's going to win? The fans got to decide. They had voting at the comic shops on ballots, and you sent your ballot in, and then you got to see what happened. Do you remember any of this at all, Richard? Because after I sold the shop, I was burnt. I left. I was out.
Yeah, no, I don't remember this particular. There's been a number over the years of crossovers between Marvel and DC. I don't remember this particular set.
The only thing I can remember is you and I have a mutual friend named Evan, and I remember Evan being so excited for this and showing me these comics, and I was like, you know what? I can't look at a comic book right now.
Yes, the image of 48 long boxes in your head. Yeah, I don't blame you.
What was cool about this, though, is that there was the typical Marvel DC crossover. It's a draw, there's no clear winner. There were clear-cut winners in these matchups thanks to the fans, and boy, there was a lot of controversy, but it sold like hotcakes, and it led to spin-offs in the Amalgam universe, which is where remember both universes used, and you had things like Dark Claw, which was Wolverine and I think Batman combined,
right?
Spider-Boy, which was Spider-Man and Superboy. So I thought this book would be a bigger deal now for collectors than it really is. It really isn't. I don't know if there's a lot of high-grade copies that are flooding the market, but a 9.8 for DC versus Marvel #1 only goes for about $75 to $110.
Wow. Do you know, do any of these crossovers really have value? I mean, they're fan favorites, but are they investment favorites, if you know what I mean?
I think Superman versus Spider-Man, the big granddaddy of them all, that's a good, that fetches a lot. I think Batman and Hulk kind of does okay. But yeah, Darkseid and Galactus, The Hunger, Batman and Captain America by John Byrne, you kind of see them here and there, but they don't really generate a lot of collectability excitement.
Mm-hmm. No, I wonder if it's it's a lack of focus. I mean, you have kind of a dilution between the two different camps of DC fans and Marvel fans, and so you're not focusing, which is what normally drives value. People look towards a particular book to focus on a particular character or a special event for that character, and these books are kind of diluted because, like you said, they don't want to. They don't want to kill off either one of the characters, so it's kind of if it's not a draw, it's something close. So maybe that helps keep the book from having any serious value.
Here's the thing: it's never ever going to happen again. It was a much more innocent time. These companies were owned by either a sole proprietor. Marvel, I think, had just gone public or was getting ready to go public. They're owned by major conglomerates and corporations now. You've got DC on their side with Time Warner. You've got...
I don't know. I could see Time Warner selling DC. Time Warner's unhappy with the returns from DC. If Disney comes up and buys them, I could see there being a change in that statement.
Yeah, very good point. And I love how we're showing our age by still referring to them as Time Warner. It's actually just Warner Brothers and it was DC.
Sorry.
I said it first.
AOL.
I know. Time Warner AOL. Uh, wow. Remember that? Holy moly.
Hey, we're sitting here talking about 95, okay?
Yeah, right. It's all
old.
blur. We've already talked about how horrible my memory is. But one thing I can remember to hit is our underrated books of the week. Ha, segue. And Richard, you've got a good one this week. I like your pick.
A lot of times I spend thinking about if I was Kevin Feige and I was trying to map out not just Phase 4, but Phase 5, Phase 6. So I'm thinking 10 years in the future, and where we had some development of characters in the MCU. Where would I go? Well, we know for a fact that at some point we're going to see the Fantastic Four in the MCU. We know for a fact that we already have Skrulls in the MCU. They appeared. Yeah. So my pick is Fantastic Four number 18, the first appearance of the Super Skrull. The Super Skrull is a really cool character who has his normal Skrull powers of transformation and mind control, as well as every power of the individuals of the Fantastic Four. So he's sort of like a combination of all the Fantastic Four characters, and he has constant battles over the decades with Fantastic Four, with Thor, with the Avengers. He's a character that covers, like I said, decades worth of stories, but he's also a very complicated character. He has a wife and a son and a daughter, and there's strife from his family, but also his interactions with the rest of the Skrulls. He gets exiled at one point, but then later on in the book, he becomes the Emperor of the Skrulls. So he's an important character in the Skrull mythos, Secret Empire, which is Skrulls taking over individuals and basically running things. If we see a storyline there, or if we see some other storyline for the Skrulls, I could see Super Skrull being a villain that would come in and, again, have that depth that Kevin Feige seems to like. He likes characters that are complex, and he likes putting them in situations that are complex, and it makes for an interesting story. So right now, the Fantastic Four number 18, it's GPA 6.0 is about $610, but that's a recent. That's only on one sale. The 12-month on GPA is $493, so like $500. So off one sale, we see a $610. It's on nobody's radar right now. So I could see that price going down. I don't really see any pressure that's pushing this price higher. And to me, it's a Fantastic Four under 20. My goodness, you can get some really good lower grades for a couple of $100, and you could start there and then work your way up. It's a long play. I don't want anybody to think I'm thinking this is something that's going to happen anytime soon. But if you could find a copy for a reasonable amount of money, if we ever have conventions again, you can find, let's say, a 3.0 for $250, $300. You hold on to it, put it away, don't sell it, hold on to it, and you could have huge returns in 5-6 years if this storyline becomes something that Marvel develops.
I think during Secret Invasion, Marvel showed how
Invasion. I'm sorry.
Yeah, all good. Marvel showed how they could use the Skrulls effectively. A lot of times, especially the Bronze Age and some of the Copper Age, the Skrulls were an easy out to fix continuity problems. Okay, well, it wasn't the thing. It was actually just a Skrull for those 12 years.
Yeah,
they were really just kind of a cheat. And Secret Invasion showed how they could be used to be a really menacing threat to the Marvel Universe. And we've seen some teasers in Captain Marvel, in the MCU. Mm-hmm. So who knows? They're going to have, like I said, it's a long play. They're going to have to introduce the Fantastic Four first and get them established. And then we can see the Super Skrull really come in. Right. So that's a great one.
Yeah, and don't wait for the Fantastic Four to be in the universe. As soon as MCU, there is an introduction of the Fantastic Four. All the Fantastic Four keys are going to go supernova.
We're seeing number 1, number 4, and number 5 already moving.
Yeah, absolutely. So think about this long term. Plan ahead. Again, skate to where the puck is going to be, because once these announcements happen, those prices are going to, just like we've got She-Hulk at $700 on all these announcements, where the Fantastic Four books are going to go is even higher in comparison.
Anyone's guess, because no one's letting them go. And I would also add, if you have copies of these early Fantastic Fours that are not signed by Stan Lee, I bet you're going to get a premium in the future, because some of those Stan Lee SIGs just look horrible. I would never buy them. I know I'm in the minority, but I do not want a Stan Lee SIG on my key. I just don't.
The only book I want a Stan Lee SIG on is Amazing Fantasy 15.
Really?
Yeah, sorry. I would take his scroll on that book, because that's kind of like the exclamation point to that book for me, at least. Anything else, I don't own a single Stan Lee signature book, because it's not important to me. But on that book, I would take it for sure.
What do you guys think? Stan Lee SIGs on keys, yay or nay? Tell us in the comments. Let us know on Instagram, because you know how I feel. I'm just curious if I'm in the distinct minority here. But we'll move on to my underrated book of the week, which is a typical John pick, but it is 2001, A Space Odyssey #8 by Stan's better half, in my opinion, Jack Kirby. It's also the first appearance of Mr. Machine, who later became Machine Man. Now, why is this underrated? It's the first appearance of Machine Man. It's an adaptation of 2001, A Space Odyssey. I'm sure this is what Arthur C. Clarke and Stanley Kubrick had in mind for their vision, was Jack Kirby introducing a robotic superhero. But hey, what are you going to do? It's a very tough book to get a 9.8. Again, a series that was quarter box bin material for years and years, so they were all banged up. This series is likely to never be reprinted because of various rights issues between Arthur C. Clarke, the MGM Studios, whoever owns them now. It's just a twisted mess of rights. Mm-hmm. So that's why they renamed Mr. Machine Man, so Marvel could just own it outright. I have owned the 35-cent variant of this, which exists. It's a very tough book to get. But the regular version, the 90-day average for a 9.8 is $610 for the very first. Yeah, this is a pricey book now. The 35-cent variant, even more so. The highest graded one that is sold is a 9.2 that sold in December of 2012, 8 years ago, for $608. So that's almost as much as a 9.8 sold in the last 90 days. So if another 9.2 or above 35-cent variant of 2001 #8 came to market, I don't even know what it would go for.
Yeah, well, you know what? Again, with GPA, it may have come to market. It just may not have been a source that they recognize, and therefore it hasn't been recorded. But still, 2012, I can't even imagine, like you say, what that book is going to be worth when it does hit the market again.
We've seen Iron Fist 14 35-cent variant selling for thousands. We've seen Star Wars #1 35-cent variant, which is the granddaddy of those books, and just like lower level stuff, even like Kid Colt Outlaw 35-cent variants for hundreds and hundreds of dollars. Mm-hmm. So we can speculate all night, but I sure wish I had mine again. I sold mine in 2006 for a few $100, but it was a 75.
You know what? This is the first time we've had two picks that were Jack Kirby books.
You're right. We're amazing.
Hey.
I can't think of a better way to go out. Hey, if you thanks for joining us. If you're not following us on Facebook and Instagram at Broads and Modern Gods, please do so. If you're watching us on YouTube, thanks. Leave us a comment. Tell us if you want a Stan Lee SIG or not. Subscribe, give us a like, share it with someone you love. And if you listen to us on your favorite podcast platform, thank you for that as well. And leave us a review and a rate. And we will see you next time. See you, Richard.
See ya. Stay safe, everybody.